What's love got to do with it? Do with it. You know that song? You don't even know that song, bro. Alright, anyways, bro. If you mean word, the Bargo way, the only way we go these days. Yeah, sir. Alright, listen, bro. So we back to it. Let's just go, bro. Open your books up to page. We probably don't even got the same page, bro. Just open your books up to the right page and lock it in, bro. McDonald's still hasn't called me. Wow. So now I get the job at McDonald's. Crazy game. Crazy, bro. Hold on. Let me fix some. Okay. Hello. Can you hear me?
Desire outwits.
Okay, chill, yeah, bro, to not get the job at McDonald's?
Falling, dreaming.
Yeah. That's crazy, bro. Okay, alright. Dog, I've been thinking about this book often, bro.
Would have willingly paid.
Desire outwits
of life.
Life
back. Would have willingly paid.
Yeah, okay. Desire outwits
Desire outwits Mother Nature.
Oh yeah, and I got a smoothie. W's to the smoothie. W's to y'all being here. W's to what we got going on. Reading, learning. Desire. Alright, settle down.
As a fitting climax to this chapter, I wish to introduce one of the most unusual persons I have ever known. I first saw him 24 years ago, a few minutes after he was born. He came into the world without any physical sign of ears, and the doctor admitted, when pressed for an opinion, that the child might be deaf and mute for life. I challenged the doctor's opinion. I had the right to do so. I was the child's father. I too reached a decision and rendered an opinion, but I expressed the opinion silently, in the secrecy of my own heart. I decided that my son would hear and speak. Nature could send me a child without ears, but nature could not induce me to accept the reality of the affliction. In my own mind, I knew that my son would hear and speak. How? I was sure there must be a way, and I knew I would find it. I thought of the words of the immortal Emerson. The whole course of things goes to teach us faith. We need only obey. There is guidance for each of us, and by lowly listening, we shall hear the right word.
Hold on, let me run that back. There is guidance for each of us, and by lowly listening, we shall hear the right word. The right word? Desire. More than anything else, I desired that my son not be a deaf mute. From that desire, I never, whatever that word might be, not for a second.
The right word? Desire. More than anything else, I desired that my son should not be a deaf mute. From that desire, I never receded, not for a second. Many years previously, I had written, "Our only limitations are those we set up in our own minds." For the first time, I wondered if that statement were true. Lying on the bed in front of me was a newly born child without the natural equipment of hearing. Even though he might hear and speak, he was obviously disfigured for life. Surely, this was a limitation which that child had not set up in his own mind. What could I do about it? Somehow, I would find a way to transplant into that child's mind my own burning desire for ways and means of conveying sound to his brain without the aid of ears. As soon as the child was old enough to cooperate, I would fill his mind so completely with a burning desire to hear that nature would, by methods of her own, translate it into physical reality. All this thinking took place in my own mind, but I spoke of it to no one. Every day I renewed the pledge I had made to myself, not to accept a deaf mute for a son. As he grew older and began to take notice of things around him, we observed that he had a slight degree of hearing. When he reached the age when children usually begin talking, he made no attempt to speak, but we could tell by his actions that he could hear certain sounds slightly. That was all I wanted to know.
He was deaf, guys, so he had a death shot. Do I have to break this down, bro? Come on, he's breaking it down literally. You have to hear it from me. We ain't finna get nowhere, bro. We ain't finna get far. Come on, lock it in, bro.
I was convinced that if he could hear, even slightly, he might develop still greater hearing capacity. Then something happened which gave me hope.
What
It came
happened?
from an entirely unexpected source. We bought a Victrola. When the child heard the music for the first time, he went
See, I don't know what a Victrola is.
into ecstasies and promptly appropriated the machine. He soon showed a preference for certain records, among them It's a Long Way to Tipperary. On one occasion, he played that piece over and over for almost 2 hours, standing in front of the Victrola with his teeth clamped on the edge of the case.
So a Victrola might be like a music box of some sort. For me, context clues, guys. Records, name of a song. What's love got to do with it? Do with it. And he put his teeth on it. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Teeth clamped on the edge of the case.
The significance of this self-formed habit of his did not become clear to us until years afterward, for we had never heard of the principle of bone conduction of sound at that time. Shortly after he appropriated the Victrola,
Bone conduction of sound. Shortly after he appropriated the Victrola.
I discovered that he could hear me quite clearly when I spoke with my lips touching his mastoid bone, or at the base of the brain. These discoveries placed in my possession the necessary media by which I began to translate into reality my burning desire to help my son develop hearing and speech. By that time he was making stabs at speaking certain words. The outlook was far from encouraging, but desire, backed by faith, knows no such word as impossible. Having determined that he could hear the sound of my voice plainly, I began immediately to transfer to his mind the desire to hear and speak. I soon discovered that the child enjoyed bedtime stories, so I went to work, creating stories.
I'm not gonna lie. We kind of have to run that back. Not all the way, but I'm like, when he said, I spoke with my lips touching his something bone or at the base of the brain. I'm trying to picture it, but you can't picture something you don't know. You know what I'm saying? My lips touching what? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's love got to do with it? Desire. In this case, desire, bro. He just wanted his son to be able to, come on now, talk a little bit.
Designed to develop in him self-reliance, imagination, and a keen desire to hear and to be himself,
Gotta run that
hear
back.
and speak. I soon discovered that the child enjoyed bedtime stories, so I went to work, creating stories designed to develop in him self-reliance, imagination, and a keen desire to hear and to be normal. There was one story in particular which I emphasized by giving it some new and dramatic coloring each time it was told. It was designed to plant in his mind the thought that his affliction was not a liability, but an asset of great value. Despite the fact,
Which means just because he was deaf, don't mean he's a loser. Like, it actually might be valuable to you. That's what he's trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, just because you can't hear, don't mean that's a fat L. Maybe we can turn that L into a W. in simpler terms.
Fact that all the philosophy an asset of his mind, the thought that his affliction was not a liability,
Turn
but
me
an
up,
asset
right?
of great value.
I'm trying to crank this shit all the way
Despite the
up.
fact that all the philosophy I had examined clearly indicated that every adversity brings with it the seed of an equivalent advantage.
Every adversity brings with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. That's super tough. And by that I mean, if you don't see it, you won't. If you don't understand it, you won't see it. If you don't understand it, you won't see it. I know I said the same thing twice, but like every adversity brings with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. I get it. We're about to find out what that means for his son, though. I must confess that
I must confess that I had not the slightest idea how this affliction could ever become an asset. However, I continued my practice of wrapping that philosophy in bedtime stories, hoping the time would come when he would find some plan by which his handicap could be made to serve some useful purpose. Reason told me plainly that there was no adequate compensation for the lack of ears and natural hearing equipment. Desire, backed by faith, pushed reason aside and inspired me to carry on. As I analyze the experience in retrospect, I can see now that my son's faith in me had much to do with the astounding results. He did not question anything I told him. I sold him the idea that he had a distinct advantage over his older brother, and that this advantage would reflect itself in many ways. For example, the teachers in school would observe that he had no ears, and, because of this, they would show him special attention and treat him with extraordinary kindness. They always did. His mother saw to that by visiting the teachers and arranging with them to give the child the extra attention necessary.
Wow, that's valid. That's actually pretty good. That was valid. That was good. I like how they did that. That's what I'm saying.
I sold him the idea, too, that when he became old enough to sell newspapers, his older brother had already become a newspaper merchant, he would have a big advantage over his brother, for the reason that people would pay him extra money for his wares, because they could see that he was a bright, industrious boy, despite the fact he had
they might be on to something. This is valid.
no ears. We could notice that gradually the child's hearing was improving. Moreover, he had not the slightest tendency to be self-conscious because of his affliction. When he was about 7, he showed the first evidence that our method of servicing his mind was bearing fruit. For several months he begged for the privilege of selling newspapers, but his mother would not give her consent. She was afraid that his deafness made it unsafe for him to go on the street alone. Finally, he took matters in his own hands. One afternoon, when he was left at home with the servants, he climbed through the kitchen window, shinnied to the ground, and set out on his own. He borrowed 6 cents in capital from the neighbor shoemaker, invested it in papers, sold out, reinvested, and kept repeating until late in the evening. After balancing his accounts and paying back the 6 cents he had borrowed from his banker, he had a net profit of 42 cents. When we got home that night, we found him in bed, asleep, with the money.
42 cents was a lot back then. 42 cents? Maybe like, I don't know, $10 now? Maybe even 20. I don't know. What am I, from the 1970s, bro? I just know 42 cents. It had to be a lot, bro.
Money tightly clenched in his hand. His mother opened his hands, removed the coins, and cried. Of all things, crying over her son's first victory seemed so inappropriate.
Crazy.
My reaction was the reverse.
For sure.
I laughed heartily, for I knew that my endeavor to plant in the child's mind an attitude of faith in himself had been successful.
That's what's up.
His mother saw, in his first business venture, a little deaf boy who had gone out in the streets and risked his life to earn money. I saw a brave, ambitious, self-reliant little businessman whose stock in himself had been increased 100% because he had gone into business on his own initiative and had won. The transaction pleased me because I knew that he had given evidence of a trait of resourcefulness that would go with him all through life. Later events proved this to be true. When his older brother wanted something, he would lie down on the floor, kick his feet in the air, cry for it, and get it. When the little deaf boy wanted something, he would plan a way to earn the money, then buy it for himself. He still follows that plan. Truly, my own son has taught me that handicaps can be converted into stepping stones on which one may climb toward some worthy goal, unless they are accepted as obstacles and used as alibis. The little deaf boy went through the grades, high school and college, without being able to hear his teachers, excepting when they shouted loudly at close range. He did not go to a school for the deaf. We would not permit him to learn the sign language. We were determined that he should live a normal life and associate with normal children, and we stood by that decision, although it cost us many heated debates with school officials. While he was in high school,
it be like that, bro. They in debate clubs talking about what, man? It's insane.
He tried an electrical hearing aid, but it was of no value to him, due, we believed, to a condition that was disclosed when the child was 6 by Dr. J. Gordon Wilson of Chicago, when he operated on one side of the boy's head and discovered that there was no sign of natural hearing equipment. During his last week in college, 18 years after the operation, something happened which marked the most important turning point of his life. Through what seemed to be mere chance, he came into possession of another electrical hearing device, which was sent to him on trial. He was slow about testing it due to his disappointment with a similar device. Finally, he picked the instrument up and more or less carelessly placed it on his head, hooked up the battery, and lo, as if by a stroke of magic, his lifelong desire for normal hearing became a reality. For the first time in his life, he heard practically as well as any person with normal hearing. God moves in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform.
God moves in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. Why is that in you know what I'm saying? Like, why is that a quote? I don't know. But he put the, okay, cool. He was able to hear now. It's crazy. Overjoyed because of the changed world which had been brought to, man, come on now.
Overjoyed because of the changed world which had been brought to him through his hearing device, he rushed to the telephone, called his mother, and heard her voice perfectly. The next day, he plainly heard the voices of his professors in class for the first time in his life. Previously, he could hear them only when they shouted at short range. He heard the radio. He heard the talking pictures.
Dang, he's able to hear everything now. That's good stuff, bro. That's good stuff, bro. That's good stuff. He's able to hear everything now, bro. He's like, it's not one thing, it's another.
First time in his life, he could converse freely with other people without the necessity of their having to speak loudly. Truly, he had come into possession of a changed world. We had refused to accept nature's error, and, by persistent desire, we had induced nature to correct that error through the only practical means available.
Gang, this smoothie is cheeks, bro. Like, it's just, jeez Louise, bruh. Like, it's supposed to be bust right now, dude. I don't know, bro. Your boy just wanted a smoothie, gang. I like smoothie. You know what I'm saying? I like mangoes. Put them together. We got a smoothie mango. And this one is just like, listen. Okay, listen. Just give me my money back, bro. Just give me my money back, bro.
All this money on me make me wanna poop.
The way that smoothie tasting. Make me wanna. My stomach hurt. Just know that. My stomach is officially hurting right now, bro.
Desire had commenced to pay dividends, but the victory was not yet complete. The boy still had to find a definite and practical way to convert his handicap into an equivalent asset. Hardly realizing the significance of what had already been accomplished, but intoxicated with the joy of his newly discovered world of sound, he wrote a letter to the manufacturer of the hearing aid, enthusiastically describing his experience. Something in his letter, something, perhaps, which was not
There's something in his letter. Something,
written on the lines, but
perhaps, which was not written on the lines.
back of them, caused the company to invite him to New York. When he arrived, he was escorted through the factory, and while talking with the chief engineer, telling him about his changed world, a hunch, an idea, or an inspiration, call it what you wish, flashed into his mind. It was this impulse of thought which converted his affliction into an asset, destined to pay dividends in both money and happiness to thousands for all time to come. The sum and substance of that impulse of thought was this. It occurred to him that he might be of help to the millions of deafened people who go through life without the benefit of hearing devices, if he could find a way to tell them the story of his changed world. Then and there, he reached a decision to devote the remainder of his life to rendering useful service to the hard of hearing. For an entire month, he carried on an intensive research, during which he analyzed the entire marketing system of the manufacturer of the hearing device, and created ways and means of communicating with the hard of hearing all over the world for the purpose of sharing with them his newly discovered changed world. When this was done, he put in writing a 2-year plan based upon his findings. When he presented the plan to the company, he was instantly given a position for the purpose of carrying out his ambition. Little did he dream when he went to work that he was destined to bring hope and practical relief to thousands of deafened people who, without his help, would have been doomed forever to deaf-mutism. Shortly after he became associated with the manufacturer of his hearing aid,
There goes the train. Anyways, so what's going on here is pretty good. He accepted the invitation because he wrote the letter saying, hey man, thanks, this hearing aid is really good. In the middle of that, him talking to them boys, he had a eureka moment. And it was just like, yo, maybe I can tell more deaf people about what happened to me. And that's what's going on. That's what's being explained right now, just in case you got lost in that sauce a little bit.
he invited me to attend a class conducted by his company for the purpose of teaching deaf mutes to
Yeah, my
hear
stomach hurt.
and to speak.
I had to lean back a little bit. My stomach is. Get a mango smoothie in the morning. That's what happens, bro. Is it? Is it what happens? Probably not. Is it what happened because of this? Probably so. It was too watery, bro. It's gonna go right through me.
I had never heard of such a hearing aid. He invited me to attend a class
Where we
conducted
at?
in practical relief to thousands of deafened people who,
Thousands of different people. He changed the world. Okay.
without his help, would have been doomed forever to
To death.
deaf-mutism.
Boom, I knew it.
Shortly after he became associated with the manufacturer of his hearing aid, he invited me to attend a class conducted by his company for the purpose of teaching deaf mutes to hear and to speak. I had never heard of such a form of education. Therefore, I visited the class, skeptical but hopeful that my time would not be entirely wasted. Here I saw a demonstration which gave me a greatly enlarged vision of what I had done to arouse and keep alive in my son's mind the desire for normal hearing. I saw deaf mutes actually being taught to hear and to speak through application of the self-same principle I had used more than 20 years previously in saving my son from deaf-mutism. Thus, through some strange turn of the wheel of fate, my son, Blair, and I have been destined to aid in correcting deaf-mutism for those as yet unborn, because we are the only living human beings, as far as I know, who have established definitely the fact that deaf-mutism can be corrected to the extent of restoring to normal life those who suffer with this affliction. It has been done for one, it will be done for others. There is no doubt in my mind that Blair would have been a deaf-mute all his life if his mother and I had not managed to shape his mind as we did. The doctor who attended at his birth told us, confidentially, the child might never hear or speak.
That's crazy.
A few weeks ago, Dr. Irving Voorhees, a noted specialist on such cases, examined Blair very thoroughly. He was astounded when he learned how well my son now hears and speaks, and said his examination indicated that, theoretically, the boy should not be able to hear at all. But the lad does hear, despite the fact that X-ray pictures showed there is no opening in the skull whatsoever from where his ears should be to the brain. When I planted in his mind the desire to hear and talk and live as a normal person, there went with that impulse some strange influence which caused nature to become bridge builder and span the gulf of silence between his brain and the outer world, by some means which the keenest medical specialists have not been able to interpret. It would be sacrilege for me to even conjecture as to how nature performed this miracle. It would be unforgivable if I neglected to tell the world as much as I know of the humble part I assumed in the strange experience. It is my duty and a privilege to say I believe, and not without reason, that nothing is impossible to the person who backs desire with enduring faith.
Bro, that's so real, bro. That's so real.
Verily, a burning desire has devious ways of transmuting itself into a
Verily. What do you think that means? What do you think that word means? Verily. Very? Very much. Very much. A burning desire, bro. A burning desire, bro.
its physical equivalent. Blair has devious ways of transmuting itself into its physical equivalent. Blair desired normal hearing. Now he has it. He was born with a handicap which might easily have sent one with a less defined desire to the street with a bundle of pencils and a tin cup. That handicap now promises to serve as the medium by which he will render useful.
Hold on, he said, dog, that handicap. That went over your head, bro. He said with that handicap, people would have been outside with a bundle of pencils and a tin cup.
Service to many millions of hard of hearing also, to give him a tin cup. That handicap now promises to serve as the medium by which he will render useful service to many millions of hard of hearing also, to give him useful employment at adequate financial compensation the remainder of his life. The little white lies I planted in his mind when he was a child, by leading him to believe his affliction would become a great asset, which he could capitalize, has justified itself. Verily, there is nothing, right or wrong, which belief, plus burning desire, cannot make real. These qualities are free to everyone. In all my experience in dealing with men and women who had personal problems, I never handled a single case which more definitely demonstrates the power of desire. Authors sometimes make the mistake of writing of subjects of which they have but superficial or very elementary knowledge. It has been my good fortune to have had the privilege of testing the soundness of the power of desire through the affliction of my own son. Perhaps it was providential that the experience came as it did, for surely no one is better prepared than he to serve as an example of what happens when desire is put to the test. If Mother Nature bends to the will of desire, is it logical that mere men can defeat a burning desire? Strange and imponderable.
You have to read that back, bro. If Mother Nature bends to the will of desire, is it logical that mere men can defeat a burning desire? So I think he's asking, If you got a burning desire, can someone really stop you? If all it takes is a burning desire for whatever you want to absolute happen. So if you have a burning desire, which means it'll absolutely happen, can a human stop you? That's a good question. That's a good question.
Is the power of the heat a burning desire? Strange and imponderable is the power of the human mind. We
Strange and imponderable. I like that.
do not understand the method by which it uses every circumstance, every individual, every physical thing within its reach, as a means of transmuting desire into its physical counterpart. Perhaps science will uncover this secret. I planted in my son's mind the desire to hear and to speak as any normal person hears and speaks. That desire has now become a reality. I planted in his mind the desire to convert his greatest handicap into his greatest asset. That desire has been realized. The modus operandi by which this astounding result was achieved is not hard to describe. It consisted of 3 very definite facts. First, I mixed faith with the desire for normal hearing, which I passed on to my son. Second, I communicated my desire to him in every conceivable way available, through persistent, continuous effort over a period of years. Third, he believed me. As this chapter was being completed, news came of the death of Madame Schumann-Heink.
Oh, what the heck? As this chapter is being, but he's writing the chapter. Wait, that's the news that just came in? I'm just gonna add that in my book right quick. As a chapter, that's crazy. Was being completed. News of the, I don't know who this is.
One short paragraph in the news dispatch gives the clue to this unusual woman's stupendous success as a singer. I quote the paragraph because the clue it contains is none other than desire. Early in her career, Madame Schumann-Heink visited the director of the Vienna Court Opera to have him test her voice.
Maybe we should look her up. Like, actually, you know? Yeah, bro. Let's look at how much motion she had, bro. It's just right, bro. It's just right that we look her up, you know? It's not like we not on the computer right now. Madam. Ain't nothing coming up. That's for sure. Not yet. Okay? Okay. Born 1861, and she got a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. Oh yeah, she up. She was 75. I don't know. Okay, she was up, right? Let's put net worth, right or no? They didn't really have net worths back then. It's not finna. Madam. Okay. Madam Schuheimer. Exact network at the time of her death in 19 is not formally recorded. In modern, it's not formally recorded in the modern values. But something documents value her gross estimate at 33,000, which was a lot of money back then. Okay, cool. Cool. A little song? Alright, bet. Oh, she was one of those. Kind of sounds scary, gang. I ain't gonna lie. Kind of sounds scary, just a little bit. And she was up. It's crazy. That's what's up, man. Dang, dude. R.I.P. cuz. I don't know what I'm typing. Hold on, cuz.
Oh, tiptoe by the garden, by the garden.
That's what I kind of want to sound like. I'm not gonna lie. That's kind of what it sound like. Okay, but okay. Lock in. All right, so that person had not here no more, right?
But he did not test it.
Okay, run it back. So that person died as this chapter is being written. So that means, when did she die? 18 something like that, 1927. And as the chapter is being, so this book was written in 1927. Just in case you didn't know.
Clue to this unusual woman's stupendous success as a singer.
Stupendous.
I quote the
crazy.
paragraph because the clue it contains is none other than desire.
Okay, for sure.
Early in her career, Madame Schumann-Heink visited the director of the Vienna Court Opera to have him test her voice. But he did not test it. After taking one look at the awkward and...
Oh, now we know. You know what I'm saying? That she was up, she was famous, she was singing. Word.
poorly
That's W background that we just did, right? W background work. Okay.
dressed girl did not test it.
Okay, wait. So she went to the doctor to get her voice checked, but he didn't test it because she looked broke. Bad.
After taking one look at the awkward and poorly dressed girl, he exclaimed, none too gently, "With such a face and with no personality at all, how can you ever expect to succeed in opera, my good?"
What? First of all, W voice is a reader. I didn't know he was gonna do us like that. That's good. And then opera. She was an opera singer. I couldn't get the word, bro. She was okay.
Good child. Too
He
gently.
told her he couldn't sing.
With such a face and with no personality at all, how can you ever expect to succeed in opera, my good child? Give up the idea. Buy a sewing machine and go to work. You can never be a singer.
You can never be a singer, he said. You will never make it in this industry.
Never is a long time.
It is.
The director of the Vienna Court Opera knew much about the technique of singing. He knew little about the power of desire when it assumes the proportion of an obsession. If he had known more of that power, he would not have made the mistake of condemning genius without giving it an opportunity. Several years ago, one of my business associates became ill. He became worse as time went on, and finally was taken to the hospital for an operation. Just before he was wheeled into the operating room...
Wait. He ain't finna talk about... That's it? He ain't finna talk about... I understood why he just put this in, but I don't know if he's finna, come back to it. He just, several years ago, my boy went to the hospital. Wait, what? Okay, let's just continue.
I took a look at him and wondered how anyone as thin and emaciated as he could possibly go through a major operation successfully. The doctor warned me that there was little, if any, chance of my ever seeing him alive again. But that was the doctor's opinion. It was not the opinion of the patient. Just before he was wheeled away, he whispered feebly, "Do not be disturbed, Chief. I will be out of here in a few days." The attending nurse looked at me with pity, but the patient did come through safely. After it was all over, his physician said, "Nothing but his own desire to live saved him. He
Dang.
never would have pulled through if he had not refused to accept the possibility of death. I believe in the power of desire backed by faith, because I have seen this power lift men from lowly beginnings to places of power and wealth. I have seen it rob the grave of its victims. I have seen it serve as the medium by which men staged a comeback after having been defeated in 100 different ways. I have seen it provide my own son with a normal, happy, successful life, despite nature's having sent him into the world without ears.
Okay, he obviously not coming back to this. So, I gotta speak on it, you feel me? We just heard her music. She was famous. She was up. But the doctor said, you will never sing. The doctor said, the doctors told her, you will never sing. She ignored that. She became a singer. On to the next. Right here, Buddy's friend went to the hospital. The doctor's like, bro, he gonna go into this surgery and you probably not gonna see him again. He finna go into the surgery, he finna go under the yard too. And Buddy was like, oh, dang, he's gonna die. But the homie was like, nah, bro, trust me, we gonna be alright. He make it through. And the doctor's like, hey, bro, the only way he made it through is because he had faith. Because he thought he was gonna make it through. Because if it wasn't for that, he would have been dead. What? That's what the desire do. That's what the desire. Desire. That's what it do, boy. That's what it do.
How can one harness and use the power of desire?
How can one harness and use the power of desire? This had been answered through this. It has. It has, bro. I would agree it has been answered.
This has been answered through this and the subsequent chapters of this book.
Subsequent? That means more in the book. I think.
This message is going out to the world at the end of the longest and perhaps the most devastating depression America has ever known. It is reasonable to presume that the message may come to the attention of many who have been wounded by the depression, those who have lost their fortunes, others who have lost their positions, and great numbers who must reorganize their plans and stage a comeback. To all these, I wish to convey the thought that all achievement, no matter what may be its nature or its purpose, must begin with an intense, burning desire for something definite. Through some strange and powerful principle of mental chemistry, which she has never divulged, nature wraps up in the impulse of strong desire that something which recognizes no such word as impossible and accepts no such reality as failure.
Desire. That's the chapter we just read. We broke it in two parts because we had to. It was good. I'm kind of down to continue going. But it's only right that we're able to take a break. Allow your thoughts to digest what we just read, right? And go through your whole day thinking about what you desire and how desiring something, excuse me, can get you what you want, bro. You gotta know what you want. And some people don't. And just because you don't know what you want, it's fine, bro. Not everybody knows whatever. I don't know. But desiring something gonna help. Knowing what you want will be very helpful also. Come on. You gotta know what you want. It's like getting in a car and not knowing where you want to go. When you're just driving. What are you doing? Wasting gas. aka energy, bro. You're wasting energy if you don't know where you're going. You're going nowhere. All the energy being wasted on nothing, going nowhere, is a crime, gang.
Falling,
Is a crime.
dreaming.
It is, bro. It's a crime, bro. Just know where you want to go. If you don't know, what do you enjoy doing on your free time when nobody's looking? What do you enjoy? Hey, we listen and we don't judge. If it's weird, bro, you gotta get checked out. I don't know what you got going on. But if it's like you like to paint, draw, play video games, we can work with that. If you like to read books, we can work with that. If you like to maybe watch TV, we can work with that. I guess if you love watching TV, jeez Louise, bro, it gets to a point. But like, hey, to each their own. Yeah, this was a good chapter. My stomach's hurting. El mango. So we'll just yeah. I'll see y'all after the bathroom. Thank you for joining.
We the best music.
I used to pray for times like this, to rhyme like this, so I had to grind like that, to shine like